How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. It's very exciting. We have special guest here. I am Andras Toth. Hopefully I pronounced that okay.
You did a legendary job, man. I'm impressed.
I think I listened to you yesterday for like a second just to see, and then I heard it. I was like, got it.
Sweet.
We're super happy to have you on our channel. We've been wanting to do this for a while because our channels, we just always felt like are really similar. You know, you're all about chess improvement, and from what I've seen on your YouTube, like I really like the kinds of videos and like advice and content you're making. So super stoked to have you on here, and we have a lot of I think mutual fans as well. People always tell us like we have to get you on.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I indeed think that we are like-minded people and we do similar stuff. So let's not look upon it as rivalry, but friends, right? So thank you. I'm honored to be here for sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Goat crossover. Look at that, man. Goat crossover. Like that is my take on this too. I wish.
That's right. That stands for greatest of all time, in case Jesse is watching. All right. So yeah, today, well, we are going to be ranking the top chess books that have come out basically in the last 20 years, since 2001. Earlier with Jesse and David, we ranked the best books of all time. We felt before 2001. That's all up on YouTube. If you guys haven't seen that, you can go check that out. But David and Jesse, they haven't read most of the books that are on the list here, and so it would have been hard for them to rank a bunch of books that they haven't read. So it's me and Andras, and we haven't read everything here, but I feel like mostly can cover our basis. Actually, let me start off with just a big fat disclaimer / blanket apology. This is just going to be our opinions, guys. Okay, so I know there's a ton of amazing chess books out there and so many good books. I know everyone has their favorite, but we haven't read everything, and we're only going to talk about what we've read, and rank what we've read, of course. So if we haven't read the book, or if we don't mention it, doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't mean it's not great. It just means we haven't come across it yet. Yeah, so we put up a list of all the books that or a bunch of the books that were mentioned. We asked on Twitter, like, what are your favorite books? These are also a lot of the books that we'll be ranking today. Andras has a couple books not on the list, so those will be surprise weapons.
That's it. There's a countermeasure to embarrass you for you embarrassing me for not reading some of these books. Basically, that's what it is.
Nice. And then we have these series at the bottom. So these are actually just really tough to rank because a lot of the books in these series are kind of like hard to differentiate between one another. A lot of people suggested Yusupov is some of the best books out there, but my feeling was, and I think Andras should agree, is like the series is kind of a different category of books, and these series are all amazing. We might rank them at the end just for fun. But actually, I think there's one exception. I put Thinking Inside the Box on the list. That's from Grandmaster Agard's GM Prep series. But apart from that, there weren't a lot of books that really can separate themselves. So these are the best series. We're going to be talking about just individual books today. Okay, I want you to have the last books. I'll go first. And my 10th choice from this list, let me confirm. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to choose this book, but it kind of snuck in at the end. My 10th best book is the AlphaZero book, Game Changer. I think this is going to be the most... I won't spoil it. I really like Game Changer. This is by Matthew Sadler and Natasha Reagan. Actually, I have it here. I have a bunch of the books here, in case anyone is wondering what it looks like. Really amazing book. Obviously, AlphaZero like shocked the world a couple of years ago with some amazing games, this amazing match versus Stockfish, and since then Leela has just been like completely like changing how we think about certain types of positions and really like totally revolutionized like computer chess. And I really just enjoyed the book. I just thought that, like, they went through the games really well. Have you read this one, Andras?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very glad you picked it because you can talk about it.
Yeah, so I thought the way they explained the games was fascinating. I thought the book was like well organized, like really good chapters, just in a very enjoyable read. I didn't really talk about my criteria for these books, but I'm obviously looking for like high instructional value, like you can learn a lot. But also the book has to be very enjoyable. Like you're not going to learn if you don't get through the book. So I think that's just a really important aspect of that. So that's my number 10 book. All right, over to you, sir.
I don't like you anymore. I don't like you anymore. So from this list, and I can't pick any of the series at the bottom, right?
Well, if there's like one book out of the series that you really like, you can definitely choose that one.
Right, because see, for example, from the Dvoretsky School of Chess Excellence, I actually happen to have it on my desk right now, so I will be a show off because you are being a show off too, and I can't stand it taking all the glory, sir. So one of my all-time favorite books is definitely School of Chess Excellence, the tactical play, which is book 2. Now, I don't actually know where we are going to put this book on the list, but because if I picked it up, I'm going to replace it somewhere, because just to ruin your plan, we'll place it somewhere on the list, but not next last. I tell you what I think about this book, and I have already spoken about this on my channel, but I will probably repeat it a little bit. I love that book. It's an amazingly good value book, but it's a hard one. And I think that some of the difficulty with making a list like this is that it's very difficult to find your target audience, because what is a very good book for a 2200 FIDE rated player might be an absolute gibberish, not understandable, like science book for someone who is 1700. And this book actually classifies as a perfect example of that. It's a very difficult book, in my opinion, because you really need to follow what it's saying. And there are lots of very deep, very long variations. But the examples are masterfully selected, which is such a forte of Dvoretsky's, by the way, in any department. Oh, I'm doing another rule here, right? Because Dvoretsky's name is twice on the book on the list now. Shoot.
Well,
Kostya, what will you do with me now, sir? I just realized that we have got a Dvoretsky already on the...
Yeah, we got the endgame manual. We can definitely discuss it. The idea was like, we choose one book for author, so the author can't show up twice. As good as Dvoretsky is.
Yeah, man, the guy has got so much value out there. It's tough. But then I will just quickly I'll go over to Endgame Manual. The Endgame Manual is a brilliant book, undoubtedly. Interestingly enough, and I said it also on my channel, that it's a bit funnily structured for my liking. So that's the only negative thing that I can bring up about the Endgame Manual, that it's a little bit oddly structured for my liking. For example, compared to the clarity of 100 Endgames You Must Know, which I think is a little bit easier to digest. So again, the Dvoretsky Endgame Manual is a book that is, I think, starts off as quite easy, but then at points becomes very hard and difficult to understand or follow.
Right.
But it's an absolutely essential endgame book on anyone's chess bookshelf. So I don't know, man. Let's put it somewhere on the list. I will leave it up to you.
Now, someone brought up a good point though. On the tactical playbook, is that one of the ones that Yusupov wrote together with Dvoretsky? Like, is his name on it? That would be a really good.
I think they did it together, but it doesn't have Yusupov's name on the cover. So now I'm going to look into it to see what's going on in there, but Yusupov's name doesn't seem to appear anywhere in it. I thought that they did it together, like they did so many other things.
Yeah.
But this particular one does not have Yusupov's name attached to it, which doesn't mean a thing, by the way. But I'm afraid that this will have to go down as a Dvoretsky book, sadly.
Okay, well, that's right. I mean, if you felt strongly about it, we could certainly put, if that's your 10th favorite book of all time, or last 20 years, we can definitely.
Oh yeah, I would put that book definitely in alongside with the Endgame Manual. I would say that in my life they represent equal value. Easy.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that was also the idea, is that the people are very familiar with the Endgame Manual, and it's well known as just this amazing book. So it's kind of like a placeholder for all things Dvoretsky.
Yeah.
That's kind of the...
Put on the list, mate, Dvoretsky without a book.
Okay, but you don't know where you want it yet.
Yeah, I'm not making your life easy, so I'm a bit hesitant.
You can change it later. When Perlstein was on here, he gave us his 5 favorite openings, and then he switched them up.
Come on, that's cheating. We can't do that. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's totally fine. Yeah, well, we'll have to play it a little bit by the ear.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Sir.
Maybe I'll put it like number 4, number 5.
Yep. Let's roll with that. Let's roll with that.
Okay, you gotta say number though.
Let's put it 5, and just for the bang middle, so people can start hating on me.
Okay. Oh no.
How is that?
Good. Except I realized I'm gonna have to adjust.
By the
My
way,
mistake was I didn't make it big enough so I could crop it. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to officially thank you for inviting me to the stream and to this collab. By the way,
Oh, of course.
you have been trying to have me, and I knocked back a couple of occasions. Not because of anything. It's just life is busier than it should be.
Yeah. No, we're super stoked to have you here.
The ice. How are you going, folks? I'm reading the chat in the meantime. No, I did see the list. I opened it up half an hour before the chat, so yeah. Thank you, Zedrak. I appreciate that. I hope you are going to enjoy them.
Okay. Well, yeah, I had a lot more time to think about the list than Andras did, so we'll cut him some slack.
Yeah. More importantly, you had time to read the books.
That's also true. Okay, my number 9 book, it was really hard, guys, to choose between. We're just gonna have disclaimers on every choice. I ultimately went with Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy, Watson. Great book. Oh, this is gonna have to get fixed again. My bad. Really could have seen this one coming. I'm just gonna put Dvoretsky.
Kostya, how do you rate that whilst you are typing it in versus Chess Strategy in Action by the same author?
Is that
Did I put you on?
Also
did I put you on the spot now? Yep.
Honestly, I'm not familiar with Chess Strategy in Action, so.
So that's basically this. Well, it's not exactly a second edition, but it's an updated version or a second thought on things by Watson. I found that book quite fascinating, actually. So yeah, it's just an interesting thing I wanted to mention, that they are both very good books. In fact, Watson is a great author, in my opinion. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like Watson, and well, this book, Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy, this was kind of like, I guess, overall is like Watson like examining my system and kind of like updating it, which I thought was just so cool. I remember reading it when I was at an appropriate level, I think around like 1800, so maybe actually I was a little bit advanced, but I felt like I was missing some fundamentals, so I took a look at this book. People were also asking for us to mention which levels these books are for, and I think that's really important. Actually, what Andras said about Dvoretsky is that actually most of Dvoretsky's books are
high
really
level,
advanced.
Yes,
yeah. And they're not going to be for everyone. In fact, the endgame manual, I feel like there's a lot of endgame books to go through, I think, before one is ready for the endgame manual. And there's actually one of the books I put in my like overrated videos or overrated books video. To a lot of
did too, actually. I did say that the endgame manual was a bit overrated too, but I feel that talking about Dvoretsky's work in such fashion is a bit of sacrilege and blasphemy, but just that's how I felt. Right.
And we'll probably get into it when we talk about Dvoretsky more, but yeah, like basically, yeah, so many people buy the endgame manual and then it just collects dust, and then it's like they don't do anything with it because it's just too technical.
Yeah, like if someone asked me name my favorite Dvoretsky book, I would definitely not say the endgame manual. That's my take on it.
Yeah, definitely not the most enjoyable one. Very useful, very high level, and for strong players, like it's like a must read. Like probably like most GMs have probably read it, but yeah, not for the majority of folks out there. That's my feeling.
So, all right, so you want me to put something on that list too, right?
Yeah, to finish up on Watson, basically I just loved his book. It just had a lot of like modern examples of strong players. breaking these classic rules like not putting a knight on the side of the board and like allowing double pawns for the initiative, and really helped crystallize this idea for me that chess is a mix of strategy and tactics, and the concrete side will always find exceptions in the strategic side. And that's just a very, very important part. We have a question in the chat about Logical Chess by Chernev. So Logical Chess is a great book, but pre-2001. So we're only going to be talking about books 2001 and forward. Dor says PogChamp's competitors Ludwig and Cutie Cinderella have the endgame manual. Are you serious? That's not real.
Wow.
That to them.
Okay, well, good luck to both of them.
Yeah, they win. Yeah, they're gonna win easily.
Good luck to both of them. Holy cadoodly. All right, Kostya, I'm going to do something that is borderline against the rules. I'm going to introduce now one of my books that is not on the list. And I'm quite surprised, actually, it's not on the list, because I'm going to bring in now a very, very popular book. It's a very controversial book as far as I'm concerned, but it's a very popular book. And so, behold, Van Perlo's Endgame.
Endgame Tactics. Yeah, absolutely.
Van Perlo's Endgame Tactics. I can say a lot of things about this book, but saying that it's not brilliant would be a lie. So I insist that this book makes it to my list. So put it somewhere at the bottom, please. I always say it when people ask me about it. I always say that Van Perlo's Endgame Manual or Endgame Tactics is not an endgame book. It's a tactics book. And as long as you understand that you're not going to learn an awful lot about endgames, but much more so about tactics, it's just a divine choice. Can I? Yeah, 10th will do me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, I've heard many good things about this. It's on my wish list. I keep meaning to check it out.
I haven't seen it, man. It's brilliant, and it's so funnily written too. Like the dude has a really cool sense of humor too. So it's and also as a fellow chess coach, it's a magnificent source of material for teaching chess. Really, really good stuff.
Cool. No, that's exactly why I was interested in it, because it looks like it has all these nice tricks. So now, for sure, I mean, it was already high up, but for sure now, like 100.
Yeah. No, it is just unmissable in my opinion. At points, it's overrated, especially if people think it's a brilliant book to learn endgames from, because it's not. But it's great for learning tactics and the tactical motives of endgames. Just yummy. All right, back to you, sir.
Okay. So for me, my number 8 book, very popular book, Chess Structures, a Grandmaster Guide, by Grandmaster Mauricio Flores Rios. I'm a big fan of this one. I think a lot of people really, really enjoy it because it basically shows all these typical positions and structures that we often have to deal with, like the Caro-Kann structure, King's Indian, Sicilian. And it breaks down a lot of like the typical plans and ideas. This is like the number one question, in every like opening lab, every opening clinic that like Jan Gustafsson does. It's like, can you please explain the typical plans and ideas of like this one position? And Rios does it for like a bunch of different positions. I mean, it's hard to cover everything, but he covers a lot, and he shows ideas for white, shows ideas for black. The games are really well annotated. I think there's some exercises as well at the end of each chapter, if I remember correctly, but very, very good book to learn like typical thematic ideas. So I would encourage you guys check out the table of contents, and if there's like positions that you play in the book, I think definitely like one of the most instructive books I've ever seen.
That, Kostya, you can extend it into my thing too, because I fully agree with you. So that is something where we overlap.
Cool. Well, where should we put it?
Right where it is.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
I'll put it number
I think,
8.
Kostya, once we have the list, we will reconsider shuffling around, just like Eugene used to do it, as he said.
That's totally fine. Totally fine. Okay. Well then, I guess, okay, I'll go to my number 7.
Dude, I swear to God, you have the whole list in your head already. In fact, you did before we started.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I right?
Well, that was the idea. Yeah, just to...
Man, I'm figuring it out on the go, and you are just shooting at me these numbers and books. It's tough, man. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm very curious to know what will make it first on your list.
Yeah, no, it'll be an interesting interesting surprise. Again, we can switch it up, and it's not like I put a ton of time. Actually, I just did it like literally in the last like half hour before we went live. So
Fair.
Yeah, just to make sure that I actually had 10 books I was gonna rank.
Okay.
So number 7 for me. Yeah, along the same lines of I guess Watson for me is this book by John Nunn, Understanding Chess Move by Move. So John Nunn has written a number of well-known books. This is the one that I connected with personally. I read this one, I think, when I was around, again, like 1800 or so. This was one of the first like real chess books I actually read. Like once I got interested in the game, I like read My 60 Memorable Games, and I think I read this one. And it was really useful to introduce me to a number of concepts that are now just kind of like, I guess, like fundamental, like, you know, the role of initiative versus material. When is it okay to sacrifice material? Using the 2 bishops, how to play with like an open file, just like all of these very typical things. Basically, the way the book works is like it's 30 games, they're all annotated, and every single move is annotated. It's like the modern day version of the Chernev books. And John Nunn is just a really good author, in my opinion, just explains things very, very well. The games are really high quality. And what I really loved is that he would show, kind of like Flores Rios does, like there was one game where he showed the power of a space advantage, and then the next game he shows like how a space advantage can go wrong, how to play against a space advantage. And so that was, again, very useful to see like the balance side of chess. There's always 2 sides to like every coin. Any thoughts on this book or John Nunn?
Definitely, man. Definitely. The John Nunn's book, I would rate very, very highly on this list. In fact, top 3, for the sole reason that is the type of book that exactly that rating range that you just mentioned, that 1800 should get into. Detailed analysis, thorough explanation, competent author, great examples. The whole shebang is just perfect. That is an ultimate chess book to go through from cover to cover. And on that note, Kostya, I know it's not on the list, and I don't know if you know it. I don't want to put you on the spot again, but there is a very similar book written by Igor Stoll called 50 Modern Masterpieces, or something along the lines of that. Exact same structure, in fact, even the same publisher. 50 Modern Games, analyzed really, really well. Same concept, probably a little bit deeper. So that's a step up, but same story. But yeah, Nunn is definitely top 3 for me for that reason, because it just has the lot in one book, and that's something I really appreciate.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I've seen the Stoll book, but haven't had a chance to go through it. Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I will put this at number 3 for you.
Thank you, please. Yeah, thank you, F. Woodbridge. It's Instructive Modern Chess Masterpieces. Yeah, that's right. That's the title. Kostya, we have got a very interesting proposition in the chat, saying that we could perhaps attach a minimum rating to each title.
Absolutely. So yeah, for the
which is quite an interesting idea. I like that. Hard. I mean, it's very subjective, I suppose, but it would be good if we could.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the Nunn book, I would say like 1600 and up is probably good.
Yep. Yeah, let's go with that.
And it'll be hard to include it in the chart, but yeah, we'll just.
No, I reckon you should put it on the bottom, because there's more room in the bottom.
On the bottom.
Yeah, why not? There is more room there, and then people can just, look at that. Can't you fit that after the titles? Or it's too hard?
Oh, yeah, actually, I can put it here.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, by on the bottom.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll just include some numbers of the books that we already discussed.
Yep.
That 1600 plus. Yeah, you let me know if you disagree with any of these, and we'll average them out or something. Chess structures. This was, say, 1600 plus. Game changer.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with 2000 plus for this one, just because like Get to 2000 first, then you can study Alpha Zero.
For Van Perlo's endgame tactics, which is not on the list currently, you can also go 1600 plus easy.
Cool.
If you want to. There is another chat question which I don't know the answer to. Are we gonna share the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I think we'll leave a link to the spreadsheet maybe in the YouTube video that this will eventually be.
Sure. You
guys can look forward to that. We'll probably post a screenshot on Twitter as well.
Sounds good.
Okay. I guess time for number 6.
Okay. You talk, sir. I'll just try to pick up whatever is left.
Okay, so yeah, this one is gonna come. Okay, here we go. This one's gonna come with a big caveat. So
yeah,
my number 6 book is the Endgame Manual, Dvoretsky. Now, as far as authors go, I would probably put Dvoretsky as like number 1 or 2. Like if I just had to rank authors. But as far as these specific books go, for me, I felt there's 5 books that I like more than the Endgame Manual. But let me just say the Endgame Manual is brilliant for very high-rated players. And Dvoretsky's series, some of which he wrote with Yusupov, I'm not sure which ones exactly, but like School of Chess Excellence, School of Future Champions, those books that are based on the lectures that he did at like the Dvoretsky Yusupov Chess School, those are all brilliant. A personal favorite of mine actually is, let's see if I have it here. Yeah, Attack and Defense. You guys, I really like this one. I think this is just the one, I read at the right time. Really helped me with just like my calculation, my dynamic decision making. There's just a bunch of like fantastic articles in here. Oh, this one does have Yusupov's name on it, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is the Yusupov series. Yep, that is the one.
But there's also articles in here from like Dolmatov and like Blumenfeld, I think.
That's correct. It's a collection of articles, mostly by Dvoretsky students, including Dolmatov and some other dudes there too. Zyagintsev is a notoriously frequently quoted player because he was also a Dvoretsky student there.
Right.
Yeah. Peter Svidler is quoted a lot in those books too.
That's true. In fact, one of my favorite things about these books is that like they talk about the sessions and like
yes, exactly. I love that too. Yeah, when he tells that I set up this position in a blah blah training camp, and then and he calls the players in their nicknames like Boba and whatever and Sasha. Like it just sounds like such a familiar, like a cool atmosphere. But yeah, he quotes players like Svidler, Zyagintsev, Dolmatov, Yusupov, like absolute top end. Dreyev even, like top end GMs, and he just casually talks about them as my little students, my little pupils. It's quite next level stuff.
Well, I think that's one of the things that makes Dvoretsky maybe the best chess author of all time, is that not just his content is so good, but I actually feel like he's a really good storyteller. Like I like his autobiography as well, where he writes a lot of stories and just like talks about chess. Like really just fascinating read. So it makes it very engaging. There's a question about the analytical manual. So I read the analytical manual at the wrong time. I think I was definitely too weak for it. I was maybe 1900 or 2000 and like trying to work on my calculation, and then someone was like, "Oh, Dvoretsky analytical manual." I was like, "Okay." And I tried some problems. It was just like impossible. And it's like, I just couldn't do it. So I never got back to it.
Yeah, there is a bit of a risk with a number of titles on this list where going in too soon is going to achieve the exact opposite effect of what we want,
right?
Which is that to gain the largest amount of value out of the book. I think good examples of that on this list would be the Endgame Manual, which is a particularly hard book. And since it's, I think, my turn now anyway, I'm going to pick a book that I really like on this list, which is Perfect Your Chess. Where is it, Kostya? I can't see it now. Did you remove it? Oh, no, it's right there.
Yeah,
Perfect Your Chess by Volokitin and Grabinsky. I happen to have it here too, so let me show off again.
Nice. I also
So Perfect Your Chess looks like this.
We're big fans of this book. Jesse loves this book.
Yeah, little pawn dude climbing the mountain. And that is a book that definitely should not be your first or potentially even your second puzzle book that you go through. This is a next level up. So at least 2000, maybe 21,
like
thereabouts.
21,
Thereabouts. It's a magnificent collection of very, very carefully selected, very well themed and structured puzzles. Many of them from the author himself, Volokitin. And they are really well explained, actually, too, which is quite surprising for a puzzle book. But actually, when you go to the solutions, I'm going to show you just a random page. This much text in a book that tells you about puzzles and their solutions means that you are in for a treat, because half of the puzzle books out there will give you a diagram and the solution with the moves and 0 words. And I have never ever been a fan of books that don't provide you at least some verbal instruction. Because if you have a question and you don't understand the solution and there is nothing there to explain what's going on, you are totally stuck. But that book is really, really brilliant. I really like that. I would like you, sir, to put that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 6th purely because it goes for a limited audience in terms of only being available for, for people who actually have reached a certain level. Some people would call it elitist, but we are not going there because we know that would be incredibly silly.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on this book. It's gonna be on my list as well. It's just like every strong player that has talked about this book is just like raved about it. Mainly, I think because like you said, the exercises are really well chosen. The solutions are very specific. There's always one exact concrete solution, and there for me was a really nice mix of like tactical and strategic elements. It was always concrete, but there was always some elements of evaluation. Some of the more difficult problems, actually, you have to just evaluate the key position.
And very much on the money, sir. Kostya, we have got a question which I really like, so I would like to get to that. Cheeseburger's man is asking us, what about forcing chess move by Hurton Charles, or Charles Hurton? I never get that right. And where does that fit? Now, I love that book. I personally think that that's a brilliant puzzle book, and if there was ever a puzzle book only list, I would have definitely put that top 10. I think that book fits exactly before the Perfect Your Chess. So if we make a food chain of going from lower rating ranks to higher, I would go forcing chess moves, and when that's finished, that's when you go to Perfect Your Chess. That would be the hierarchy for me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've only seen that book a little bit, but from what I've seen, I think it has some like really good problems. Definitely really good for calculation. I'm totally with you.
It's a magnificent book. Yeah. And also the other benefit of that book is that although at points the text is very annoyingly, tediously repetitive, like the author has got this idea about, he calls basically your tactical vision a computer eye, and the expression of computer eye is probably written in that book about 700 times. But apart from that, the written instructions or explanations are also quite thorough. And so that is a really good prep to go into a book like the Volokitin Perfect Your Chess. Back to you, sir.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate you answering that because I just haven't read enough of the book, but it does seem like a good one, although challenging for sure. Okay, top 5. Here we go. My number 5 book of books released since 2001. Actually, quick question from Dor. Can I ask both of you how much time you take on each problem and Perfect Your Chess? When I was working on it with a training partner, we'd work on it like until we feel like we have a solution, but usually that would be like 10 to 20 minutes a position. How do you feel, Andras?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like if it goes beyond the 10, 15 minute mark, I reckon there's a chance you won't be able to solve it. And then from there on, it becomes a futile effort. So I think that's sensible. Yeah.
I mean, some people, they go crazy. They're like, you spend 3 hours on it. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
No, that's insanity. And also that defeats the purpose, because the idea of solving a puzzle is that, imagine this is your chess game. Right. How would you win? You don't have 3 hours in a chess game, fortunately.
Yeah. So you're not exactly training the right skill there. So 10 to 20 minutes, and then it's just beyond your expertise. So just learn from the solution. The time would be better spent.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If you can't crack it in that time, it's probably time for looking for a hint or just altogether solve the problem and then understand what you didn't understand. Try to look for what part of it did you not calculate correctly, or you didn't visualize or didn't even think about, whatever that issue was.
Right. Okay, my number 5 book is a book I talk about a lot on this channel, and we've had the author on for a couple U.S. Chess School lectures. Mastering Chess Strategy by Grandmaster Johan Helstein. So Helstein has written, I think, 3 books in this series. Mastering Chess Strategy, which is mainly about the middle game, Mastering Opening Strategy, and Mastering Endgame Strategy. So those 2 books discussing specifically the opening and endgame phases. Those 2 books are also very, very good, and I enjoy them a lot. But this is kind of the main one that he's written, so I just use it here. I just think it's like a incredible book, like pound for pound, the most chess out of anything on the list. I mean, it's a huge book. I have it here. I show it every once in a while. I mean, it's just like heavy. It's like 30 pounds, 600 pages. Like hundreds and hundreds of like instructive examples, and then like hundreds of exercises on top of that. And the examples are just like really well chosen. And if you've seen Helstein's lectures on the U.S. Chess School, he writes exactly like he teaches. He just like shoots, throws positions at you one after the other. Here's 10 positions of like good knight versus bad bishop. It's 5 positions of like this idea, 5 exercise like this idea. It's just like great for like strategic pattern recognition. Let's put it like that. So I'm huge fan of these books.
I will have to be honest with you, Kostya. It's one of the to-do things for me. I have not read that book, and I've heard very, very good things about it.
Well, yeah, no, especially for coaches. Actually, I think just great material. Suggested rating, great question. I'm gonna put this one at our 1600 plus group. Because I think it is definitely very accessible for a wide range of players. But it's, I would say, like, should probably read something like Reassess Your Chess maybe before you read Mastering Chess Strategy, if you are really, really new to like positional chess and strategic concepts. But yeah, for a wide range of players, I think it would be good. I have not read the Tisdall book, Improve Your Chess Now, but I have heard very good things about it.
Yeah, neither have I.
Okay, your next book, please.
All right, so let's go with Positional Decision Making in Chess by the one and only Boris Gelfand. Holy cow, this is a tough one to talk about again for very, very similar reasons to Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual. I think that this book is an absolute masterpiece, but it definitely can't make my top 3 because the accessibility of the content, by which I mean that it's really a difficult book. I read that book, and about 50% of the book, I felt that I was pushed to my limits, right? And I don't want to brag, you know who I am. I'm an international master, right? So that's what I am, no more, no less. And I read the book, and at points I felt like, yep, I totally get it. In fact, that's the move I reckon is best. He's recommending it, and I still am not sure why we are winning this game. But despite of this, it is a very, very thoroughly analyzed book, and that is always a quality that I look for books. The thorough analysis, the lines provided, the explanation provided. In terms of these things, the book is extremely rich and very highly recommended for that reason alone. Needless to say that we are talking about one of the greatest players of all time, especially if we discount world champions. It's mostly his own games. So we really get an insight into the top end, the absolute top of the food chain of what chess feels like, looks like when you are playing it against the best of the best, and how you make decisions and how you plan your games out. It's a very difficult book. In fact, I would say that the vast majority of viewers who are listening to us here would probably find it that they would be out of their depth, and I can totally understand that. But once you get there, I would say at least 2200, Kostya. What do you reckon?
That sounds right. Yeah, I mean the Gelfand book is brilliant. I recently did a review on the new one, Technical Decision Making, but I also talked about this one as well and how good it was.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think short of 2200, it's probably hard to extract all the value in the book. As interesting as it is, it might be more practical books out there for most viewers.
There's an interesting question that Coach is saying. How many chess books do you think Carlsen and Super GMs read? I know for a fact that Carlsen has read them all. Like, I don't want to sound stupid, but like Carlsen, I know for a fact that he reads chess books like that his life depended on it. So a lot.
Right.
A lot. And I think that generally speaking, chess players are chess book lovers. That's my experience anyway. We are a special breed of people who love dearly the books about our own discipline, more so probably than in any other discipline. Like I do a fair bit of tennis, and I do know people who work in different levels of tennis, and I don't really see them too much reading tennis books. But chess players and chess books, they are inseparable, absolutely inseparable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the modern books, I imagine they are not as interested in those, but like, except Carlsen. Like, I'm totally with you. I feel like Carlsen just reads like he just goes to the bookshop and just like absorbs books.
Yeah.
Photographic memory.
Totally. Yeah, he's just next level. He's just next level.
But yeah, I feel like all the top players that I've heard talk about books, they're like, yeah, they basically read all the classics. They often mention my great predecessors. You know, they just read like cover to cover. So yeah. Okay, some good questions in the chat. How to decide what books you can read without a board? I think that just depends on how the book is printed and how many diagrams it has. So that's
I answered that in the chat. I recommended puzzle books. That's an easy answer. Because that's basically the only genre where you almost certainly shouldn't play out stuff before you actually go through it in your head.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a book that focuses on how far ahead you should calculate and how many variations you should see? That's a really interesting question. So I would say there are some books that do a really good job of telling you exactly what you're supposed to have seen. One example is the Agard book, Excelling at Chess Calculation. There's this test at the end, like 100 problems, and he gives you points. He just says like, if you saw this line, you get this many points. If you saw this line, you get this many points. And I think that was really cool. I think the woodpecker method also does it. They have these like little check marks where like these are the variations you have to see if you want to consider yourself having completed the problem. But I'll say that a great way to learn this Dritman is actually to go through game collections, because like a really good game collection, especially by the player writing about their own games, is going to talk about exactly what they saw and when, and that I think is going to be really instructive.
Yep. Well spoken, sir. You didn't need me for this video.
Thanks. All right, we're gonna move on here. I'll look up one thing real quick. Okay, cool. All right, moving on to number 4. Actually, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I just have Gelfand at number 4. I agree with everything you said. It's a brilliant book. That's funny. And definitely advanced, only for 2200 plus. But if you're 2200 plus, I think it's really profound. Just a lot of great chapters in there. He talks about Rubinstein, how to play with the space advantage, how to squeeze your opponent. Just a lot of great stuff. One of the most brilliant books in recent years. And of course, we should say that it's a book written by a top player, which is not something we can say for most of these.
Correct, yeah. And that's a very important thing to note.
Yeah, it's very rare. Okay. Oh,
your
yeah,
turn,
you've got
sir.
some spots. Yeah, your turn.
My turn. I picked the Anand one, the Gelfand one, but I will pick another one. I already am telling you that I'm going to do a bit of reshuffling.
That's fine.
But I'm going to put 100 endgames you must know somewhere very high up. And I'll tell you why. In fact, probably I'm going to commit one of the greatest blasphemies of my chess existence by rating it higher than the Dvoretsky Endgame Manual, but I'm going to explain to you why I'm doing that. The reason why I'm doing that is because the 100 Endgames You Must Know is a very easily digestible, yet super important book in terms of discussing truly 100 endgames that you really and truly need to know in order to become a better player than what you were before you knew these endgames. They are easily understandable and they are super important. Like I keep on repeating myself, but what you find there is the core of what you need to know in endgames. You can't possibly understand and play endgames well. Like a lot of my students come to me saying that, yeah, I know these theoretical endgames, but I really don't get how to play an endgame where we need to find a plan, we need to strategize, and eventually try to grind it down where we land in a theoretically winning endgame. Now, for you, or for people who don't know these 100 endgames that you must know, you are basically just holding a knife and stabbing in the dark anytime you play an endgame because you don't know what you're playing for, what you're playing towards. And so I think that of all endgame books, if you ever want to get a start somewhere where it gives you something that you can use for the rest of your life, 100 endgames you must know comes first in my book. That was a bad figure of speech, right? But yeah, for that reason, I will put it somewhere in my top 3. I wanted to have an endgame book there, and I wanted to have one there that is really widely accessible. Because the Dvoretsky book, as much as we agreed it is a work of a genius, 80% of people who play chess now around the world find it like it's written in Chinese Mandarin, literally. Whereas 100 endgames you must know is something that you either really need to get into, or if you are past that point, you still go like, without that, I wouldn't be the player I am now. So I don't think that you can avoid something like 100 endgames you must know in your chess career if you want to be a better player.
Awesome. And what would be the minimum rating you assign for that?
Let's go with our 1600 bottom. What do you reckon?
That's fine with me. Yeah, I'm a fan of this book as well. Actually, I've been working on it myself in Chessable because I don't know everything in the book, and it's really
no, neither did I actually. I will be honest with you. I very much underestimated the book in terms of just another Lucena and Philidor positions, and then let's get out of here. And then I looked at some. In fact, there is a video. I don't know if we can talk about it, but a certain famous YouTuber and content creator and a certain famous chess world champion take the 100 endgames you must know test.
Yeah. No, we can talk about it. Yeah, this is John Bartholomew and Magnus. Yeah.
Exactly. So Magnus takes the 100 endgames test, and it's quite something to watch how he handles and tackles them. So yeah, it is a brilliant book. Go for it.
No, I'm with you. It was interesting. Actually, my small criticism actually of this book is that I feel like some of the endgames get a little bit too technical. They start encroaching into like Dvoretsky endgame territory. And maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe there are other like slightly easier endgames to include instead. I'm not sure, but definitely I'm with you. Like very, very accessible book. It's not going to go on my list, but I was really close to ranking it. I just felt like it wasn't quite iconic enough as like Dvoretsky's in-game manual.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
but it's definitely very, very, very much up there for me. I also want to give a shout out. I didn't realize the book was published since 2001, but Silman's Endgame book I also think is really, really good. And if you're someone below the 1600 range and you're feeling left out, I do apologize, but I would say Silman's Complete Endgame book is perfect for anyone starting below 1600 or below 1600, because it really starts from the very, very basics and then works your way up to, let's say, a 2000 level or so of endgames. But that one is also really, really good. Okay. Well, now we're getting into the top 3. I gotta say, I was shocked that Magnus didn't know the rule of the square. That's crazy to me.
I don't believe that.
He must have.
I never believed that.
He's read so many chess books. How is it possible?
I think he was showing off. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but as soon as he said it, maybe
It's trolling a bit, maybe. Because then he made a video about the rule of the square. He's like, let me show you this secret, as if he was like genuinely impressed. That was bizarre, because that's something that...
Yeah, I always went like, yeah, dude, you are just... I mean, he did say that he always calculates it, which I do believe, but I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm not buying that.
Now the key squares thing, that he probably knows by a different name. But
that's very typical of what background you come from, right? Because if you read books in your native language, which I certainly have done so for a very big chunk of my chess playing career, as in reading books in Hungarian, those terminologies get translated, and the translation may differ slightly from the original versus the English versus your own language. So I can totally get that, how key squares would be called different things.
Yeah, but not knowing the rule of the square, that very surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, and I am not a believer of that, but it sounded.
All right. Okay. Well, top 3. Here we go. My number 3 book. Actually, let me just say, guys, there are a couple of books that are not gonna hit my list, mainly because I just haven't read them or spent enough time with them, and I'll just quickly give them a shout out before we go into the top 3. But Small Steps to Giant Improvement, Schenklin's book. I've heard some amazing things, but I just haven't had the time to go through it, so I won't be ranking that one. The Anon Files, very, very interesting book. I have it. I bought it. I'm like, it's actually been on like my bed table, because it's like, it seems like such an interesting book. I'm not going to rank it just because I haven't read enough of it to truly say how good it is. And then Move First, Think Later by Willie Hendricks. Another very interesting book. A lot of people love the book. I've seen some of it. Like, I think it's a really interesting book, but again, just haven't read enough of it to include it on my list. So I just want to say those seem like really, really good books, but I just can't rank them. Okay, number 3 for me is Perfect Your Chess by Volakitin. I just think this is like, as far as like puzzle books go, like every book should just strive to be like this book, but for different levels. So this is like a great book for advanced players, but like just the way it was written, the puzzle selection, no classics in the book. It's all like modern games, so they're not going to be like famous combinations you recognize, but just like modern games, modern players, very practical, realistic positions. Positions you can see yourself being in time trouble in like a critical moment. You got to find the best move. There's exactly one right idea, and this book just does a great job of like training you how to do it. I feel like so many players like read this book on their way from like 2200 to like IM or GM, me being one of them. For me, I think I was like 2200 FIDE, and then I read the book and worked really hard after that, of course, but yeah, ended up seeing a lot of improvement in my calculation level. Okay, over to you, Andras.
All right, this is Kostya, the time when I need to introduce books that you haven't put on the list, and I don't mean to embarrass you, and I'm sorry that I'm bending, but we can't go
good
without this. And I actually had to check the date of the publishing of this book, because I was really worried that it wouldn't make it, and it's 2003. So hereby I introduce Vlastimil Janz's absolutely magnificent Dynamics of Chess Strategy.
Oh.
One of my favorite chess book of all times.
Nice.
Now, if you are unfamiliar with it, Kostya, it's basically a collection of openings, actually. That's the best way to put it. A collection of openings that he analyzes through mostly his own games and goes very deeply into middle game analysis. It's a really, really difficult book to read, again, if you are below a certain rating level, which I would throw around 2000. But it's one of the most profoundly enlightening and educational books I have ever seen. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. Random page, look at the level of explanation. Look at how much text is there. This is a book you can learn from when there is this much writing between moves and diagrams. The book has got a zillion diagrams, a lot of in-depth lines, and just an absolutely beautiful introduction to what Vlastimil Jansa describes as dynamic chess. And another reason why it's brilliant is because the openings that it discusses are vastly openings that I would recommend to anyone to play at any given time of their career, mostly by Jansa again. And indeed, the feature that collects these openings together or combines them together is the dynamic nature of them. He doesn't play rigid structures in almost any opening, or even if he does, it comes from openings where he also is allowed to go into other structures. So he talks about lots of Ruy Lopez variations, lots of Grimfeld, lots of Sicilians, and a few other responses to E4. But overall, it's just a beautiful collection of games played for a same theme or same opening, very, very thoroughly analyzed. I know this book inside out. I've read it back to front up to time, and I still enjoy just grabbing it and reading it. So the only thing I want to mention about this book is again, that at least 2000 is what I would say is a good level for it.
Very cool. Okay, dynamics of chess strategy. There you guys have it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this book, Kostya,
oh, I'll have to check it out. Yeah,
you absolutely must.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an absolute masterpiece, man. Really, really, really awesome book. But because if I don't want to ruin your list, what is there? Well, it's such a pity we can't pick from the series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are making my life harder. I haven't read Think Box. Yeah, I haven't read that one, so I will go back to you now about the rest of my gaps. How is that?
Wait, where did you want to put it for now?
Well, if you put my book for Dynamics of Chess Strategy, it's definitely top 3.
Oh, I see.
So if you are happy to add it to the list,
sure, we'll put it at number 1 for now.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Like I said, Chess Strategy by Jansa, 2000 if you want to have a rating sort of limit to it.
Nice. Yeah. I know a lot of people mention the other Jansa book. Actually, the only one I've heard of, The Best Move, that he wrote with Vladimir Hort. Jesse's a huge fan of that book.
Right. I'm pretty sure that then Jesse would know this one too.
Oh yeah, good.
Jansa is a great author.
No, I'll have to check it out 100%. So sounds awesome. Yeah, guys, I will. I'll share the spreadsheet just at the end of the stream. I'll just try to make it public, and I'll do my best. You guys will see it. Okay, we got 2 more spots to go. My number 2 book on this list is going to be Pump Up Your Rating by Axel Smith. So Axel has now wrote a couple of really interesting books. We have Pump Up Your Rating, which I think was his first big one, if I'm not mistaken. And then he also wrote The Woodpecker Method, which a lot of people are familiar with. And recently he also wrote an opening book called E3 Poison. But Pump Up Your Rating is it's kind of his first book. And this is a book that's like all about chess improvement. It's basically like a bunch of practical advice in one book. He goes into a lot of topics, talks about how to work on like your tactics and calculation, discusses how to analyze your games and look for patterns of mistakes. Actually, I should go into that a little bit more because it's very impressive, I think, what he does there. He talks about like how to learn openings and like prepare variations. He even like talks about like how to use ChessBase and like engines and get the most out of that. It was like all around very, very complete work. I would probably set it at 1800 and up. I just think it's very well written, really, really cool examples, very modern games. He shows a lot of his own games, games of his students, his friends, just that he kind of has like a good understanding of. And in particular, the chapter on like analyzing your own games, I think he explains it really well, because people always talk about the importance of analyzing your games, and some coaches will even go further and say like, well, what you're doing is you're looking for like patterns of mistakes, like similar mistakes that you're making, so you can kind of correct for those. And then what Axel does is he goes and he actually shows examples of this. He like shows some students, like, here's some students that had like this problem, and here's like what we did with them, and like here's some games, 6 months later, and he shows this like progression. It's just really, really interesting stuff to read. And I think he even, I remember, it's been a while, but like I think he even tests the reader. He gives you some games and he's like, look through these games and see if you can identify some patterns. or like typical mistakes, and then he like talks about like what he sees, and I thought that was a really interesting way. So it's just kind of like a blueprint guide of working on your chess, and yeah, overall just really high quality book. I'm a fan of the woodpecker method as well. I would include it very close if we didn't have this book up here already. I think that's another really good puzzle book, maybe one notch below forcing chess moves. That will be our food chain. Yeah. Woodpecker method,
I agree.
forcing chess moves, and then perfect your chess. And then under woodpecker method, there's some room there as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, Kostya, that can you please put Secrets of Modern Chess Strategy on my 7th spot, because I forgot to ask you to put it on my list as well.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So I've got a gap there too. Thank you.
Okay, and now we have 2 spots left. We have your number 9 spot. If you want to add another book, and then my number 1 book.
No, I want to hear number 1 first. I'm very curious now. Go ahead.
All right. Well, some of you might have figured it out by process of elimination, because I mentioned there are some books that I haven't read on this list.
Yeah.
My number 1 book is what I feel is the best book of the modern series of Agard books, Grandmaster Preparation, and that's going to be Thinking Inside the Box. So I read this book, I think maybe not like right when it came out, but pretty soon after. It came out like a couple of years ago, like I want to say 2017, 2018. And I read it a few years ago. Whoops, keep messing this up. And this book is actually very similar to Pump Up Your Rating in the sense that it's all about chess improvement, and it offers to give a lot of like practical advice, like how to work on every single aspect of your game. And if we talk a lot about Jacob Agard on this channel, I mean, he just has like these really good books. We also mispronounce his name all the time. I'm so sorry about that. But if you're looking for like one book that kind of contains like all of his like wisdom and knowledge and insight, this would be the one to get, because the rest of the series, he has like a book on calculation, positional play, strategic play, endgame play. His previous series, Excelling at Chess, I think is also very good. And I would say if you're under 2000, I would go for the Excelling at Chess series. If you're above 2000, I would go for the GM Preparation series. And basically, Thinking Inside the Box just has like almost all of his teachings kind of like under one book. So obviously, he talks about how to work on your calculation and improve your solving. He talks about like strategic decision making and like end games, and goes into openings as well. Actually, yeah, like the Pump Up Your Rating book, he I think his friend Niklos, or probably getting his name wrong, Nitrilis, writes a big chapter in the book about like using ChessBase and engines and like working with the engine. But Agard also talks about like psychological topics, like the idea of the growth mindset and why that's very important to improving your chess. It talks about like just the psychology of chess improvement, the psychology of competitive chess. I mean, there's so many things that go into becoming a strong player, and I think this book covers almost all of them. So to me, it's just like such a great read, so fascinating, like lots of great examples too. Obviously, he shows positions from the games of his students, and like a lot of these people are just top GMs now, like Shanklin and Ganguly and all these other guys. They're very similar to like, you know, Dvoretsky books, and just yeah, overall pound for pound, great book. I think I've read it twice now. Probably read it again. So yeah, my favorite. If this was one book I would tell Andras to read, this would be it.
Yeah, which I haven't done. So you put me on a very awkward spot now. Now, sir, I need to ask you a question. Yep. When you did the previous book set, did you use the book by Yermolinsky called Road to Chess Improvement?
That was on our list, yeah.
Because it's a 1999 book, and I wanted to bring it up in this discussion, but then I realized that it's 1999.
Yeah, sir. I think, I'm not sure if Jesse and David ranked it that highly, but I think it ended up being number 10. We averaged out our rankings.
Yeah, right. Okay. I really appreciate that book. I think it's a great one.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, so to fill up my gap, we are going to put Pump Up Your Rating on my list as well.
Sure.
And I'm going to now start reshuffling.
Absolutely.
If that is cool with you, sir.
Yeah. What do I need to do?
to go with my number one book on this list, just to be the party pooper or to ruin the show. I'm going to shoot up Understanding Chess Move by None to number one, and I'm going to tell you the reason behind that. The reason behind that is because that book offers two things that I really, really like about chess books in general. One is that it caters for a fairly wide audience. So you can actually begin appreciating that book as per indicated rating. I don't think we have allocated one. Yes, we did. 1600, sorry. But even if you are a 2000 rated player, there is a lot in that book for you to take away from. The other aspect why I really like it is because it covers all the main facets of the game. So you will get some opening knowledge out of it. You will get tremendous middle game knowledge out of it. And there are some games that go into end games where he also discusses end game technique, if not so deeply, but still it's there. And so alongside with the beautifully detailed analysis and the usual very high quality analysis from John Nunn, that is going to be my number one book. My number two, I would like you to do this for me, and I know that this is a bit of an iffy move because you haven't read the book, but I want Janza to be second.
Totally fine.
Please
Jan
swap
said this
that
one right here. Yeah.
Swap 2 and 3 around, please. And I want you to swap around my perfect with chess with positional decision making.
Okay.
And that is going to be me. Sorry, Kostya, I made you work so hard.
No, not at all. This is good. Wait, so this is your list?
This is my list.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so people might be confused by the Dvoretsky thing here. I guess we didn't really decide on this one, because we
yeah, put the at the endgames manual. It's only fair if we go with as many identical titles as possible. So please do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, we'll just say, yeah, like it's not our favorite Dvoretsky book personally, but it's kind of the most highly regarded one.
Second you on everything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Wow. Well, here you go, guys. Let me see if I can share this real quick. I know folks will want the link. Copy anyone with the link. Sweet. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's what it should have been earlier. All right, guys. So here's the link to the spreadsheet if you want to check it out. Yeah, well, this has been very, very interesting. Again, we apologize for all the books that we left out. There's always comments on YouTube. How come you didn't mention this?
Yeah, I know that.
Outrage. Oh yeah, let's talk about this series for a little bit. I included these here just so people didn't feel like they were being left out.
Yep.
But basically, it's hard to just judge, one of the books out of all this. Like the Kasparov books, for example, my great predecessors, like 4 or 5 books. I mean, they're all very, very good. And yeah, it's hard for one book to compete with like a whole series of books. All these series are amazing. The Yusupov books, a lot of people mentioned those. I really like those for a lot of my students. Dvoretsky School, the Dvoretsky books also brilliant. Agar books brilliant. I don't even want to rank them. They're all just very, very good. I don't know if you had any extra thoughts on those.
I do, Kostya, funnily enough, like always. Anytime someone asks me about my favorite chess book, or if you could take only one book to a deserted island for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I always say that's going to be my great predecessors, which is obviously a cop-out and a cheap answer, because by that, of course, I mean the lot. Not one of them, but the series. Because that is just, again, everything that I love about chess books. It's the in-depth explanations. Actually, it even has brilliant stories, the analysis, lots of diagrams, lots of magnificent games written by the greatest legend of all times. Like, what else can you ask from a chess book than that? So if I could name one title that would come with me to a deserted island, it's definitely my great predecessors, no doubt.
I'm with you. Yeah, if I had to choose one of these, because that one has the most stories and like thought-provoking material, whereas the others are going to be more exercise based, actually, more like positions for solving. My one gripe with Kasparov actually is just that I felt like they went a little bit overboard with like the search for the truth in the book.
Oh yeah. Like criticizing Steinitz for miscalculating every single line is a bit harsh, considering, that the time when he lived, and it's just it's very difficult to judge things, through the lens of the 21st century, when things were far less developed and people knew next to nothing about opening theory and all that stuff. I agree with you, but at the same time, I feel like it was part of the mission to get to the bottom of, okay, this is a very famous game and we all teach it, but how sound was it actually? So but in that sense, it's handy to know, but it's also good to know about what percentage of task sacrifices were actually at least remotely sound.
No, actually, that kind of speaks to a different point. I think I would, on that one, I would think, like, honestly, I feel like that criticism gets thrown around too much when people will analyze like a Chernev book, for example, and they'll find all these like computer mistakes. I feel like that's kind of missing the point, because I think the words are going to be instructive even if the moves weren't objectively always sound, or even if the notes contain some like analytical mistakes. So actually, I feel like it's definitely not fair to criticize players using like modern engines.
So I think it's tough. It's not necessarily the right thing to do. And like, science is a thing that constantly evolves. Like Newton's scientific views have been partly refuted by modern science. So does it mean that the guy is a tool? On the contrary, he was an absolute genius.
Yeah.
So like everything needs to be understood in a historical context. And so back in the day when Tar played, and back in the day when Steinitz and Lasker played, they were the geniuses of the time, and they need to be respected for that, the exact same fashion as if we were back in the late 1800s.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually, I should clarify. I don't feel like Kasparov. I didn't get the sense that he's like criticizing these players. I think.
Certainly not.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's more just like, okay, objectively, this move is a mistake, and this is what was better.
Yeah.
But yeah, my feeling is like when I'm going through these books and the variations just get like super super deep. For me, I lose a lot of the instructive value there personally, and so I would say like the way to go through the Kasparov books, in my opinion, is to like read the material and go through the games, but then don't get too bogged down in all of the analysis. Number one, even the engines that they use are actually by now outdated. So I'm sure Kasparov himself, or I'm sure his engine, missed a bunch of stuff. But I would say, just like focus on like the notes and the actual verbal annotations. This is the most useful stuff.
Yeah, I would like to add my personal take on the Aga books, just to butcher his name even further. I have got his excelling at tactical or calculating or whatever it's called, and I have got the excelling at positional chess. And my personal take on this, and I did talk about it in my book videos, is that they are actually of very different value, those two books. I considered his excelling at tactical chess or calculating, I can't remember, to be absolutely fabulous, and the examples were very carefully and well selected. Whereas I don't know. I don't want to criticize the guy because he's one of the greatest authors of modern chess. But with excelling at positional chess, I felt like he just didn't know what to say, and he just dumped on you like 100 examples of why to move, and then that's it. Like there was not really a lot of depth and explanation in terms of why is that move, great in positional sense. So I found that book extremely lacking in the explanation department, whereas the excelling at calculation was just really, really great. Having said that, it's always easier to write a book about puzzles because that's all about tactics, which needs far less explanation than positional chess. But I think that there he fell short, especially by his own standards, which are admittedly very, very high.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I'm not even sure if he would disagree with you, because he does seem to be pretty self-critical of his own books. I'm totally with you. Like excelling at chess calculation, fantastic book. That was one that I read cover to cover when I was much lower rated, and I felt was really useful, just explaining like the mechanics of calculation and the different techniques and thought processes you should have. It does feel like Agard is kind of let's say, better at explaining the like concrete tactical side of things. Because I feel like when it comes to calculation, he does a great job of explaining like exactly what the process is supposed to be like. Because you never know what the solution is or what the solution looks like. But he kind of like breaks it down for you in a very, very crisp ways and what you're supposed to be doing. But I haven't spent too much time with excelling at positional chess. I think I kind of just superficially looked at it later and like, it looked like, normal examples. But I hear what you're saying. Okay, well, very important question. Will you two make more collabs? I hope so. That would be awesome. We'd be happy to have you back on the channel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about collabs, so sure.
Sweet. And make sure to follow Andras, guys, on YouTube. We have his channel linked there. He makes a bunch of great videos, so I'm sure you guys can take a ton of value from that. I think that's actually going to wrap it up for this episode of Dojo Talks Modern Books.